Hello, dear listeners, and welcome to Heart of a Soldier. I'm your storyteller, and today I'm going to share with you one of the most difficult choices a soldier has ever faced. This story is about a young American field medic who fought not only with his medical knowledge, but also with his humanity. Sometimes in war, our greatest enemy can be the voices in our conscience. If you're ready, let's embark on this profound and thought-provoking journey together. 25-year-old Corporal David Doc Martinez came from Afghanistan, Alabama. Growing up in his small town, no one could have predicted that he would one day save lives among sandstorms in Afghanistan's Kandahar Province. But here he was, serving as a field medic for the 101st Airborne Division. David's bag contained more than just medical supplies. There was a cross from his mother, a photo of his girlfriend Maria, and a prayer book written in Spanish by his father Francisco. Hijo Mayo, his father had written in a letter, "You are not just a soldier, you are a healer. God gave you this gift for a reason." His first months at Forward Operating Base, Chapman had been a learning experience for David. Every day, he treated wounded comrades and tried to keep their morale high. His friends just called him Doc. They had even forgotten his real name. "Doc, get over here," Sergeant Williams shouted one morning. "Rodriguez has pain in his leg again." David rushed to Private Rodriguez's side. The young soldier's leg, injured in last week's explosion, still hadn't healed properly. "How are you feeling?" David asked while carefully examining the leg. "Better, Doc, thanks to you," Rodriguez said with a smile. "If it weren't for you, I probably would have lost this leg." David's eyes welled up. He knew that every life he saved meant a family reuniting. Rodriguez also had a young wife waiting in Texas. On the morning of October 15th, alarm bells echoed throughout the Forward Operating Base IED attack. "We have casualties," their commander shouted. David grabbed his medical bag and jumped into the Humvee. His heart was racing, but his hands were steady. The attack site presented a horrific scene. The American convoy had been hit by a roadside bomb. 2 vehicles were overturned. The third was on fire. David immediately began assessing the wounded. "Doc Williams is over here," Private Jackson shouted. Sergeant Williams was lying on the ground, blood flowing from his leg. David immediately rushed to his side. "Stay calm, Williams. I'm going to get you out of here," David said, beginning to examine the wound. Shrapnel fragments had embedded in his leg, but there was no life-threatening danger. Just then, a moan came from nearby. When David looked up, he saw someone lying about 20 meters away, behind one of the overturned vehicles. But this time, the situation was different. The wounded person was not an American soldier. It was a young Taliban fighter, no more than 18 or 19 years old. Blood was flowing from his chest, and he was having difficulty breathing. His eyes found David's and looked at him as if asking for help. David's mind was confused. What did his training tell him? What did the Hippocratic Oath say? But what did the rules of war say? "Doc, Williams's bleeding is getting worse," Jackson shouted in panic. David looked both ways. Williams was not in mortal danger, but needed immediate intervention. The Taliban fighter's condition was critical. If not treated within a few minutes, he would lose his life. David's hands were trembling. 2 wounded. 2 different stories. 2 different choices. Williams, an experienced sergeant from Michigan with 3 children. His mentor, his friend. On the other side, a young man whose name he didn't even know, who was theoretically considered his enemy, but who was also someone's son. "I am a medic," David said to himself. "I save lives. I don't take them." But the panic in Jackson's voice was increasing. "Doc, hurry. Williams is passing out." David quickly returned to Williams and got the bleeding under control. He applied a tourniquet and started an IV. Williams's condition stabilized. All of this took about 3 minutes. He immediately ran to the Taliban fighter. The young man's breathing had become very weak. David examined the chest wound. There was a punctured lung. If he didn't intervene immediately, the young man would suffocate. "I'm going to save you," David said in English. He didn't know if the young man understood, but he hoped he could feel the sincerity in his voice. David performed emergency chest decompression. He inserted a large needle into the chest cavity. The trapped air escaped, and the young man could breathe. Then he closed the wound and controlled the bleeding. When the Taliban fighter's eyes opened, he tried to say something to David in Arabic. David didn't understand, but he saw the gratitude in the young man's eyes. "Doc, what are you doing?" asked Private Jackson suspiciously as he approached. "I'm doing my job, Jackson," David said calmly. "I'm a medic." Just then, help arrived from other units. The wounded would be airlifted to the hospital. Williams was back on his feet and approached David. "Doc, I saw what happened," Williams said quietly. "You saved me first, then him. You did the right thing." But the most surprising part of the story was yet to come. The Taliban fighter grabbed David's arm and handed him a small piece of paper from his pocket. There was a photo on it, a photo of the young man with a small girl. The girl appeared to be the same age as David's niece Sophie. David's eyes filled with tears. This enemy was actually someone watching over his father's house, someone's son, someone's father. That night at the base, David wrote a letter to Maria. "Dear Maria, today I made the hardest decision of my life. I saved an enemy's life. I know this sounds strange, but when I looked at him at that moment, I just saw a wounded human being. I just saw someone's son. There will be people who will blame me. They will ask, why did you help your enemy? But I'm a medic, Maria. I'm here to save lives. I'm here to save everyone who is wounded, regardless of their color, religion, or nationality. As my father said, God gave me this ability for a reason. Today I understood that reason." A week later, David received surprising news. The Taliban fighter he had saved had spoken with American doctors at the hospital in Kandahar, giving information about attacks his group was planning. Thanks to this information, 3 different attacks had been prevented. "You know, Doc," said Captain Turner, "the information that man gave probably saved the lives of dozens of American soldiers." David smiled. Sometimes doing the right thing leads to unexpected results, sir. Months passed. David's story spread throughout the units. Some soldiers criticized him for helping the enemy, but the majority supported him, especially the soldiers who survived thanks to the prevented attacks. One day, David received an unexpected visit. The father of the Taliban fighter he had saved had come to the base, wanting to speak with the American doctor who had saved his son's life. The elderly man said to David through a translator, "My son told me, you saved him. But you didn't just save his life, you saved his soul. He's not fighting anymore. He returned to our village, he's farming. My daughter also has a safe father." David's eyes watered. "I just did my job," he said modestly. "No," said the old man. "You showed humanity." When David's tour in Afghanistan ended, Maria was waiting for him at the airport. They hugged for a long time. Maria noticed there was a change in David's eyes. These were deeper, wiser eyes. "I read your letter," Maria said softly. "I'm proud of you, David. You acted like a true hero." "I'm not a hero, Maria," David said. "I'm just a medic trying to do the right thing." When they got home, a surprise awaited David. Williams, Rodriguez, and the other soldiers he had saved were waiting for him. But the biggest surprise was something else. There was a letter from the Taliban fighter he had saved, written with the help of a translator, Dr. David Martinez. "The day you saved me, you didn't just save my life, you saved my life. I no longer carry weapons. I became an assistant who treats patients in my village. Like you, I try to save lives. When my daughter grows up, I will tell her your story. I will teach her that even enemies can sometimes be angels. One day, hopefully in peacetime, we will meet again. Ahmed Hassan." David married Maria. They both became doctors and started working at a small clinic in Alabama. 2 photographs hung on the wall of David's office. One was a photo taken with his friends in Afghanistan. The other was a photo with Ahmed Hassan's daughter, which Ahmed had sent him. Years later, when David began teaching young medical students, he always told the same story. His choice that day, his feelings at that moment, and what he learned afterwards. "You are studying medicine," he would say to his students. "But medicine is not just science. Medicine is humanity. Sometimes you will have to make the hardest decisions. Then ask yourself, why did I become a doctor? When you find the answer, you will know what you need to do." One of his students had asked, "Dr. Martinez, did you ever regret that decision?" David had smiled. "Never. Because that day, I learned that true courage is not doing the easy thing, but doing the right thing. And sometimes the right thing can lead to the most unexpected results." David's story became one of the most listened to stories on the Heart of a Soldier channel, because it wasn't just a soldier's story. It was the story of a human being's battle with his conscience and the victory he won. And Ahmed Hassan. He had also opened a small health clinic in his village. David's photo hung on the wall with a sentence written in Arabic underneath. "True healers are those who heal hearts." Dear listeners, David Martinez's story shows us that, even in the midst of war, humanity can prevail. True courage lies not only in carrying weapons, but also in extending your hand. This story reminds us that in every soldier's heart lives not only love of country, but also love of humanity. The decision David made that day saved not just one life, but many lives, and brought people from 2 different worlds closer together. Thank you for being part of the Heart of a Soldier family. If this story touched you, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Until we meet again in our next story, take care of yourselves. Remember, the spirit of a soldier lives in each of your hearts.